Welcome to the Fit Dads podcast. My name is Ryan Dutton and I'm joined by the one, the only Brad Thompson, as always. And today I am going to tell you about a little story that I came across. There was an awesome YouTube video on this that I watched a few days ago. And I thought it was such an emotional story that really is a roller coaster for a parent to go on, that I thought it required its own episode essentially. So should we get straight into it?
Shall we? Just for context as well, I don't know this story.
Nope.
I'm gonna be in the position of the listener today.
Okay. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go for it. So, on the 1st of February 2020, Samuel Davidson was driving his truck around Oaklands, Australia. He was under the influence of alcohol and drugs. Just before 8 p.m, he got into a bit of an impatient situation at a red light and he decided to jump it. Speeding through the red light, he then lost control of his vehicle. Walking on the pavement at that same time was a group of 7 children, aged 8 to 13. Samuel's vehicle collided with all 7 children, killing 4 instantly, injuring 3, leaving one of them with a serious brain injury. The scene was horrific. Wasn't far off something you expect to see in a war zone. Bodies everywhere, complete devastation. The dad, Daniel Abdallah, he was father to 3 of these children. He was quick on the scene and was absolutely horrified by what he saw. His world in a moment was completely torn apart. Their mother, Layla Abdallah, was there shortly after. She was beside herself, uncontrollable, crying, emotion, everything you can expect from a mum who's just lost 3 of her kids. They had 3 kids from the ones that died. Samuel Davidson was taken into police custody and charged with 20 offences, including 4 counts of manslaughter, 4 counts of dangerous driving, occasioning to death, driving under the influence, driving through a red light, and other serious charges. Around the 4th of February, the family and the community held a vigil following the deaths of the 4 children. On the 10th of February, a funeral was held for the 3 siblings, drawing hundreds of mourners. The mother, Layla Abdallah, then did something that shocked the nation. She publicly forgave Samuel for his actions. Daniel Abdallah also said in interviews that he doesn't condone what Samuel did, but forgiving him as an act of faith was the best way for him not to be consumed by hate. It split the nation, this, and it obviously made headline news. Some felt that they should be allowed to hate, and maybe they were kind of leaving something back. Some suggested it was disrespectful to the children to forgive so soon, but they stood by their comments throughout the whole kind of period of time this was under the spotlight. Daniel Abdallah and Samuel Davidson did not know each other before the tragedy. Their relationship formed only because of the crash. Davidson was a 29-year-old man under the influence of alcohol, cocaine and MDMA when he lost control of his ute. Ute is the word they describe to kind of say trucks in Australia. When it struck the children, he wasn't a bad guy. He had no criminal records. He had lost his own sister a few years back, and that had basically taken him down some dark paths of drugs, alcohol. He admitted it wasn't the first time he'd driven drunk and under the influence of drugs, and he did say that it wasn't a regular thing, but it was completely his fault. He owned up to it, took full responsibility. Daniel Abdallah obviously became the public voice for the family, and speaking with dignity and remarkable composure, he chose to forgive Samuel. He and his wife Layla publicly forgave Sam Davidson, and while acknowledging the devastation he caused, they didn't condone his actions. So their relationship is not personal or friendly. It's defined by the crash and the Abdallah's decision to give forgiveness rather than anger is one that obviously is why this made even more headline news in Australia. The 5-year-old case made headline news again this year when Daniel decided he wanted to visit Samuel in the maximum security prison where he was staying. These kind of visits weren't unheard of. They were set up as part of how would you say it, kind of a bit of a system where the prisoners go through to try and find closure, as well as obviously the family of serious incidents. When these two people meet, the kind of family member and the killer or whatever, the abuser, if it might be that case, they have to both undergo massive psychological testing to make sure this is going to be productive and not destructive. And they decided they also wanted to televise the event. So there's quite a big show in Australia, not too dissimilar to like Panorama, where they cover quite a lot of these incidents. And they decided to cover the whole thing because it was quite an interesting story, of course. The encounter turned out to be one of the most peaceful and understanding the prison had ever seen. There was no hate, just compassion from each side. Samuel understood what he'd taken from Daniel. Daniel understood what the incident had taken from Samuel. He knew Samuel wasn't a bad guy. He never committed a crime, never been in trouble, simply a young man who made a terrible decision on that day. On the day of the incident, Daniel was asked if he ever thought about seeking revenge. He said no. His friends were there around him, urging him to. They actively said, that's the guy, let's go and get him. But in that moment, he couldn't think of anything else other than being by his kid's side. On the meeting inside the prison, now both men had taken to faith. They prayed together. They both spoke of hatred and how it wouldn't be the best thing for them both moving forwards. The Abdallah's story of forgiveness toward the driver became widely known in Australia and showed how strong a family can be amid severe tragedy. It led them to set up the I Forgive Foundation later that year.
Wow.
How would you react in that situation? Would you, I mean, it's difficult to say because it's never happened, but it was this was obviously a documentary over the space of like an hour, I think the show was. And if anyone really wanted to watch this, which I strongly encourage people to do, it was absolutely intense, emotional, takes you on a roller coaster. We'll put it in the show notes so you can go and check it out. I initially, when the incident started being uncovered and you don't really hear much of the details, the background or what actually happens in the case, my initial thought was like, yeah, why would you not want to seek revenge? Why would you not want to kill this person who's, brought so much tragedy to your family? But as it all kind of comes out, there's a very level-headed reasoning approach from the Abdallahs. Whether that's down to their faith, I don't know. But for them to come out so soon after the incident and say, we forgive him. He was also asked in the documentary if the circumstances were different, and let's say he hadn't shown any remorse, or it was an incident where someone had broken into the family home and killed the children as opposed to a drive-by hit, would he have felt any different? And he said he didn't know. He wasn't sure, which was quite an honest answer. But in that moment, they decided to forgive him.
I mean, that would probably be my answer. You don't know. It's a horrible situation. And I was going to say a story then, but it's not a story. This is somebody's life. This is what turns out to be an awful decision from Sam Davidson to, very, very unfortunately, just mow down these 7 kids. And you can't think of a worse situation as a parent with 1 child, but then for it to be 3, it's just mind-bending to think. And I know you told me that this would be a bit like an emotional roller coaster to go on because you experience everything as it's going, and then as more details come out, you don't necessarily understand, but you can sympathise, empathise. You understand that that's also a person, and I don't know. It's probably a very grounding thing for the human experience as well, because if you look at it from a very extreme sense, let's go sliding doors moment, Mr. Abdallah goes and kills Sam Davidson on the spot. What happens then? Like, yes, it's an eye for an eye, but he's still got to grieve. He's probably going to have to grieve from prison at that point. As a dad, so you're not just a grieving dad anymore. You are now someone also in a prison. And as much as people would say, I wouldn't blame you, he's got his autonomy from not doing that and from being so measured in what is only an impossible situation.
He basically said in the moment, because they'd ask him, why didn't you react, And he gave quite a level-headed answer. He said, I've not only lost, my family's lost.
Mm-hmm.
If I react in that situation, the driver's got out of the car, he's drunk, he's off his tits on drugs. If I decide to kill that man, which any bloke, I don't know if women will get it, but blokes, parenting changes you, doesn't it? It makes you so much more emotional. It makes you so much more primal in your instincts and your desire to protect your family, and you haven't been able to protect your family. Someone's come along and wiped them out in one fell swoop. Every part of your instincts as a bloke is like, seek revenge. But in that moment, he was able to keep his cool and understand that they could lose even more if I'm not careful. And he could go to prison. It's a wild, wild story, and I don't think I've heard anything like it. Like, it's just so against the trend of what normally happens. Like, you hear about so many tragedies happening to kids, and, the father, more than anything else, seeking revenge and wanting to go after the killer and, only speaking poorly of him. It is nuts to think that they forgave him so soon after. Which, again, I can see why that splits the nation, because people are like, do you care about your kids? Because it's so the norm to not forgive and to be to have hatred for someone who's done that to your family, that it questions everything.
Speaking about the norm, you almost have to go back as far back as 100 years. And at the risk of this going a bit too dark, like, child mortality was massive because there were kids dying from diseases, from all sorts of industrial accidents. So there were many, many more parents grieving the kids back then. So I think now, whenever there is a parent having to grieve a child, let's face it, mate, it's not the natural life cycle, is it? It is really not. You're not supposed to do that as a parent. That feels very... I did actually see a quote the other day which said, as a dad, and it's just this dad playing with his son, and it's like, I'm raising my son to hopefully one day live without me, which is pretty steep in a way. That's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be the other way. It's
dark, and it's something as a young dad you don't really think about, but it starts from the moment they're born, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're sort of preparing them for, when you're not around anymore. And you've said it loads, you're always going to need your parent. You're always going to need your parents, but,
And Daniel in this moment also says something very poignant. He says, Samuel's parents have lost a child as well. And I feel for them. He's parent to parent. He's understanding that they've lost a son now as well to this whole thing. They'll get to see him. They'll get to visit him. They'll get to get out. But they lost a lot when he did that, when he made that decision. And one of the nicest things at the end, no spoiler alerts on this, is Samuel just comes out and is asked, what are your thoughts towards Daniel now? And he just says, he's everything I want to be.
Yeah.
He's everything I wasn't, but everything I want to be. And I thought that was so nice of him to be like, he understands that not many people get that opportunity to be forgiven from the family. And it's really brought him, obviously, a lot of closure on this. And, you might say maybe he doesn't deserve it. Maybe he deserves to rot in hell. And you might be right. Some people might be right. But I'd recommend you when you watch the documentary and you get a feel for, like, who Sam was and his background. And there's no forgiveness totally, I don't think. You can never forgive someone for making those decisions. But can you move on? Can you get back to the point where, you're not filled with hatred? Because it could consume you, that, couldn't it? It could completely ruin your life because you just got this thing inside you where you're bubbling over all the time.
This is not my opinion, by the way, but in this situation, I always try and think about what is the general consensus? Like nationwide, you mentioned Australians were quite shocked, and now the world's quite shocked, saying like, how can you forgive this person? It's almost quite a low T response, if you've come across that before. Because the high testosterone aggression fueled is, I'm never going to forgive this guy, he's ruined my life. And that sort of much more considerate, mellow understanding, when quite frankly, most would probably agree that Sam didn't deserve it. Why would he deserve it? He's taken a choice. His choices have led to actions. His actions have led to, the Abdullah's been without 3 kids. He's got a lot to answer for there, but to view it from a certain lens, like you said about Sam's parents have now lost a child as well. He's now not just lost a child, but their child's reputation's down the drain. Everything.
Yeah, you're right. The reputation, because it's made such big news. The Davidsons now have this kind of tarnished legacy of they created that son who was a killer, essentially.
And I'm sure the Abdullahs have gone through many sort of situations in terms of, would you almost swap positions, if that makes sense, with the parents of Sam? Because they still have a son, but at what cost? Yeah, he's still there in body, but spirit, his body's not even close to you because it's locked away in some, maximum security prison. And there's a quote that I come across ages ago, which is, if you're still here, you've got a choice. And Sam's choices are really limited, but the Abdullah's choices now, because they have the mum and the dad still around, they have the opportunity to set up what was the foundation called again? I Forgive.
I Forgive with a 4.
Yeah. So that opportunity isn't forged to help other people who almost want to forgive but don't know how, if the Abdullahs react in that sort of time. So again, it's an impossible situation. You can't possibly say what you would do. Your instincts say one thing, your mind might say another, but as far as just wanting to be with the kids, I don't think you can disagree with that. They just, they wanted nothing more than just, when it all happened, just to be with them.
The opening part of the documentary just takes you through the kids themselves. That's probably the difficult thing, because it's called the Oaklands 2020 Tragedy. So there's some kind of death in there, and then it just starts with going through these kids and who they were and what they meant to the family. He lost 2 daughters and a son, and he was just saying how much the son was just like his little sidekick, was just going around with him, never left his side. He was a really good dad as well. You could see that, there were so many videos of him dancing with the kids, and he just worked or was at home being a parent. He was never out doing nothing. He was a man of faith. The daughters both had their own little personalities. Really hard when you get to kind of know the family almost through this documentary as well. And he just said that it never really goes. When you experience something like that, you never stop thinking about it. You think about it every day. And I know I say only 5 years, it's a long period of time, but there's not a day that goes by that he said he didn't think about it. It's not on his mind. He's not missing them. And to not have that next thought be, it's because of you. Yeah. It's because of what you did, and not to let that hatred manifest. Just a crazy story that shocked me. It really did. It took me by surprise. I'm not an emotional guy, you know that, mate, but it got a little bit of a lump in my throat, this one, as I was watching it, a few tears in the eyes. It definitely just sent me on a bit of an emotional journey as to what I would do, and real admiration for Daniel Abdallah for forgiving. That's so hard to do, isn't it? To forgive someone for something they've done wrong, to offer that olive branch to not only them but actually to yourself, because he understands that it will consume him and it'll eat him alive with the hatred if he's not careful. And he's also not the kind of bloke you want to mess with. He's a bit of a Samoan looking bloke, this Daniel Abdallah. Looks like a rugby player, works in construction. He looks hard as nails, I'm not gonna lie. So he probably could have caused Sam some damage, there's no doubt about that. But yeah, just a crazy story.
It's really weird you should bring this to the to the floor now, Obviously, we've had a big tragedy at the gym. Obviously, I'll not say too much about the person involved, but we had someone tragically pass away at the gym. And obviously, in like respect for the family and stuff, you don't want to dive into too much detail. But just as we were about to record, I got a message from one of the gaffers at station of a card that we'd received as a team to basically thank us for our actions of what we did from this guy's parents.
Wow.
And that it's heavy. It's not the same. You know, they've still lost a child. Yes, this child was a grown man, but it's their child. And I think for them to reach out and to be in any sort of grateful, thankful mood just blows my mind. That the brain is even there to reach out and to thank people. So
it shows that they're not like, because it's so easy to question everything and go, why did this happen, or why did that happen, or quiz and inquire, and those things are, you know, sometimes needed if the situation's right. And when someone dies, people want answers. People want to know why, what happened, what could have gone differently, why were the actions didn't lead to them not dying. So that's really nice. And I was a bit unsure about whether you wanted to talk about that on the podcast. And I know, obviously, you were one of the first on the scene, weren't you? So it's probably affected you a lot more than most. I didn't even know if you'd want to do some podcast this week, mate, to be fair. I said that to you before. Like, I know it's been a bit of a head fuck, and, you know, when you've got to perform like a lot of CPR on someone, like, it's just, it's shocking, isn't it? You know, it's as crazy as you'll get in life having to do that to someone. But I think I texted you about this. I had something similar happen.
Yeah.
God, it must be 6-7 years ago now. I was going over Woodhead. Is it Woodhead? Over the, you know, where the adjacent one to Snakes Pass. What's that called?
Yeah.
Woodhead
I think
Pass.
it's Woodhead, yeah.
And it was December. It was about 2 weeks before Christmas. And there was a row of cars going down a little bit of a slope, and it was really misty. And as I got to the row of these cars, I gently, it wasn't very fast, I just gently applied my brakes, and I slid down this hill.
Wow.
Narrowly missed this car in front of me, managed to get onto the grass, and then just saw this row of cars disappearing into a mist on a road. And so I was just thinking, I saw people get out of the car and walking down, thinking, what's going on here? My first thought was maybe there's a crash, because this is pretty crazy. And obviously it's slippy, so something's happened. So as I start walking into the mist, I can just see this car turned over on the side, and it's a Mini. And it's not only on its side, I think it was actually on its roof, so they were upside down. And you could hear people in the car screaming, so I went straight over to this Mini on the right, and there's a group of lads, and we were trying to like smash the doors wouldn't open, they were jarred, so we were trying to smash the glass and get these people out to make sure they weren't injured, but we could hear them talking and screaming, so we knew they were capable of that, but we didn't know obviously what injuries they had. So so one lad has a hammer in his van or something, so he gets that out and we start smashing this window, and we rip back the kind of, these windows on cars now aren't they're proper reinforced. We've had to really give it some beans. We managed to rip it open, and just the look in their eyes of like shock and horror. I'll never forget that. With the woman in there especially, there was a man driving, a woman passenger, and they were just in complete shock. So we managed to get them out the car after about half an hour. They're on the side, and she's like frantic. She's pacing up and down. They're not injured anyway, these two. And so I kind of done what I can do. You know, there's a lot of people around. I get back in my car. I wait for the traffic to start moving. I can see people sweeping all the glass off, and there was no cars actually on the road. So once everything was swept off, with the traffic then started moving. So I continued down this road, and then I saw the car, the Mini on the right that we just helped people out of. Then we went a little bit further into the mist, and I saw another car. This car was actually upright. It was a Fiat 500. And as I came up to it, I could see that the whole front of the car was torn off. And I'm talking, so imagine you're in the driver's seat. From the passenger side headlight, ripped straight across to the passenger side door behind the driver. I mean, the whole car, half the car, that bonnet had basically been just ripped off. And the traffic's moving really slowly. And as we're going past the car, I can just see 3 bodies on the floor.
God.
And now it's snowing. There's a fine layer of snow all over the grass, and there's just like around these 3 bodies, it's just red, complete red on the floor. And all 3 of them were getting CPR. And I went from this moment of being like, oh, okay, cool, it was a crash, we helped someone out the car, did my little bit, feel pretty good, we've like helped those people, to like, oh shit, I didn't even know there was another car like up there that really needed help. And obviously I passed that, I've seen it in like, even though we were going slow, it's a 10-second snapshot of this whole scene with this Fiat 500, bodies on the floor, and then I'm back on my journey. And I'm just thinking about that whole journey for the next hour as I drive back to Manchester. And yeah, it left me with a really weird feeling. I was just checking every, like, when I got there, every half an hour I was checking the news, trying to find out what's going on, see if they survived. Turns out all 3 of them survived. I just couldn't help but delve into it a little bit more, reading who they were. They were like just young professionals, all between the age of like 19 and 23, I think they were. And I just thought, wow, 2 weeks before Christmas, all those families have lost, their parents have lost their babies, basically. They're still babies. 19, 20, 23. You're still babies. Like, that left me with a really weird feeling. Yeah.
I think it's when obviously I'm still in the thick of it right now. And first, I'm sorry I had to go through that, because it's, I know there's people going through worse, but don't know how old you were at the time, or,
God, well, it's over 5 years ago, so I would have been maybe mid to late 20s.
It just gets you thinking about just how fragile things are. And, when you're early 20s, teens, you think you're unbeatable, think you're indestructible. And the fact that we get to live that and go through it, it's much more than what these young kids like the Abdullahs went through. They didn't really have a life, let's face it. They were just happy-go-lucky kids, and then next minute they're not here.
Yeah.
So it is.
As a parent, it's difficult because you do everything you can to protect your kids as well, don't you? Like, but you just can't protect them against everything, and it pains me to say that. And not everyone goes through tragedy, but I just don't know how I would respond to stuff like that. I'm not sure I'm mentally strong enough for that. I do worry if I ever had to go through something like that, about how I would react and how my life would be, and whether I'd manage to keep it together. Probably wouldn't. I'd probably be off the rails.
No one would blame. I don't blame it. If anyone has ever lost a child, I don't blame them if they go off rails and they do. Why would you?
If they show hate, if they hold that against that person forever, like you don't ever blame them. So when something like this, 2020 Oaklands tragedy comes up, and you hear the details of it and the level of forgiveness shown by the family, not just losing 1 kid, but 3 kids. I think they had 5 altogether, and they lost 3.
I had this chat actually with a client of mine who's a psychologist. Obviously, I was speaking to her about emotions being part of the human experience and trying to understand it. But probably men of our age, Ryan, which makes us sound ancient. It's sort of ingrained in us to not speak about that stuff. There's a lot of male psychological issues that are caused from potentially just not being very in tune with emotions and trying to suppress them. And, like enough people have told me this week, just, be kind to yourself. I'm like, what's that supposed to mean? I'm like, and first couple of times I heard it, I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean be kind to yourself? And it's probably sat down doing this now to reflect and be like, yeah, maybe I have just expected myself just to get on with it. Just be like, well, yeah, I've still got people to help. I've got stuff to do. Expecting yourself to be at this sort of level to function as a person and do your job and be a parent. And my client, who's a psychologist, sort of said, there's a lot to be said about people not playing the victim and not sort of saying, I was the first one on site, I initiated CPR. Like, it's never a victim mentality. It's just, if you can share that with someone, it's helpful, then great, because it's, someone's got to come in and get organised and take control and give this person the best possible chance and, being a sportsman growing up, you work in absolute sometimes, which is you've either won or you've lost. And in this case, like we lost the battle, but you did everything you could, and that's hard. That's a really hard thing. Whereas for these kids, for example, they had no battle to fight, mate. It was just done. It's the parents who are fighting that battle now.
Yeah, know what you went through. I think you should address. Like, don't sit on it. Don't fester it. You know, talk to the right people. Talk to other people who are involved with it. And that's probably the best thing you as guys as a gym can do. Is actually as a community come together, or you know, maybe the owner Phil or someone just says, look, let's sit down with this and let's just discuss it as a team. Anyone's got any thoughts, if you want to share. They've been quite vocal online, haven't they, about reaching out and saying if you're affected by it, get in contact with us, which I thought was really nice. But I think as a team, you guys need to sit down. Have you done that yet? Have you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what's been, if there's a positive about the process, it's just how much everybody cares. You know, how much care is being shown for the after effects, and you know, obviously numerous of us did different things during the process, and you know, we were all involved in some way, and that's quite tying in a way. You know, you're always tied to those people now. Like that's a bond that is never broken, if that makes sense, because you've gone through that together.
Yep.
And we've spoke about this many times, mate, about what brings people together, what bonds teams, what bonds people. And a big one is difficult things. Like, you go through difficult stuff together, and it does bring you together, which is a shame that it needs to be that. And it's just knowing that you can talk, you can discuss. I just always ask people to do it with respect, like for yourself and for other people involved as well.
Yeah, it is a shame, but I think it will make you stronger as a team. But you would have hoped it'd be something else.
Oh, yeah.
Not tragedy. Because it's the worst place for it to happen, because Station was formed, this gym was formed on the back of, you know, community and caring and really giving everyone a space and a platform to do what they want to do, whether you're an elite, like, powerlifter, strongman, whether you're just starting the gym for your first time, you've never stepped foot in a gym. There's parts of this gym and there's communities within that gym that will welcome you in. It's not just like, it's not a gym for one thing, it's for everybody. So with such a big emphasis on community, when something like this happens, it's felt even more so, I think.
I think the hard bit as well is, obviously I've been in a very strong grieving position with my dad as well, and it was his birthday the weekend just gone, which was, you know, as far as timings go with things,
that is some good timing.
So things get really heavy. But the bit that I always found really tough is like when people look at you in a certain way, like they know that you've either gone through some stuff or that you're grieving someone. Like, there's a certain look someone gives you when
compassionate.
Yeah, and in a way, you don't really want it. You just want to sort of carry on. I mean, it's nice to receive it because you think, oh, you give a shit. But deep down, you're like, I just want this to be normal.
I don't want to be reminded of it.
Yeah, and it's weird because it's, as a human, responding to that person who's going through something tough. And for the Abdullahs, for example, like, how do you behave around someone like that? Like, if you're a friend of theirs or a family member of theirs, like, what, they might be grieving as well for their friends, for their cousins, for their grandkids, whatever it is.
Yeah,
and
well, they lost. It was a group of cousins that were together. So it's four of his kids were there. They were with their cousins, and so one of them lost their lives. One of them's got a traumatic, traumatic brain injury now. So, yeah, how do you go about kind of like getting back into society and not feel like everyone's looking at you because of this, and almost, I mean, you'll never not be known for that. That's the issue, isn't it? Everyone, when they know your name now, I mean, nationally, will know of that tragedy, so you can never not be reminded of it. So maybe that plays into why they've chosen to forgive, to not bring any more attention to it, to draw a line under it and say, that's it, we're done. It's we can't change it. It's in the past, it's happened.
I think as far as pain goes as well, this is a bit of a weird study. I can't remember what podcast I listened to it on, but they cited a study where they basically reviewed levels of grief and intenseness of grief in certain relationships. So if someone loses like a parent, it's quite an intense grief. If someone loses a child, it's obviously a super intense grief. And then the one that sort of shocked me was if someone loses an identical twin. That's like, I don't know how they measured it exactly, but that's such an intense grief. Because they feel like they've lost basically a part of them, because it's like they're grieving himself in a way, especially identical twins.
Yeah.
And I just find that as like, people talk about the stages of grief, which I'm very familiar with. There'll be elements for like the Abdullahs, for example, who will have gone through anger, I think there's 7 stages of grief, which I forgot 6 of them, which is pretty terrible.
No, it's all good. But I think as well, like, you realise that, again, we've spoken about it so many times, kids are so cognizant to like how we are, and they pick up on things. And do you really want the next generation to pick up on your hatred for one person and an individual? Do you want them to see you be eaten alive by that? Do you want them to pick up some of those traits? So he's still got 2 kids. Yeah. 2 kids that are there. The one that got the traumatic brain injury, I'm not sure if that was one of his kids or one of their cousins. I couldn't remember. But either way, like, you just don't want that in the family. Like, let's get it out. It's done.
A special mention as well for Ashley Kane. I don't know if you've been following some of the work Ashley Kane's been doing.
Yeah, so he's on social media quite a lot. He lost a daughter, didn't he? And does a lot of charity work, has a foundation. Yeah.
I listened to him on Spencer Matthews' podcast Untapped, and really, really moving, because Ashley's pushing himself really hard on a physical sense.
Okay.
And when he spoke about it...
It's probably his way of therapy as well, isn't it?
That's exactly what he said. He sort of said, like, I can't go about my day and be normal because I can't speak to her then. I can't connect with her then. He says, I can connect with it. This is Ashley Kane's words, not mine. He says he can connect with his daughter when he's in pain, because that's what he felt for the majority of her life, which is a really, really heartbreaking.
Wow, that's deep, isn't it? Yeah. That's really deep. Wow. Yeah. So because he saw her in pain, he associates pain now with her. Yeah. And that connection to her. So he wants to feel pain, to feel like he's close to her.
And it's even little bits
really
like...
fucking deep. Wow.
Yeah. And it's little bits like he'll refer to himself as a father of 3. He's got 2 boys, and then obviously Azalea, who passed away, but he'll still say, I've got 3 kids. Which is... I think that's beautiful, to be honest, the fact that he still says that, rather than saying... He
still sees himself as her dad.
Yeah, rather than saying, I've got 2 kids but 1 died. Like, that's... I think there's a lot to be said.
You could just say I'm a father of 2, but then I think if I lost a kid, I'd feel like I was doing that kid a disservice, because you feel like in wherever she is, however your belief system is, wherever she is in the world after death. Let Walty out.
Of course, mate, of course.
Yeah, Walter's wanting to go out there.
Go on, Walty.
Go on then.
Has he done it? There we go. Just very, very gracefully again.
I know. It's the little whine in the moan that gets our attention.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like I was doing her a disservice, because she still, wherever she is, believes that I'm her dad. And I wouldn't ever want to take that away from her.
I'm determined to watch his new show, actually, because I'm sure it's called Danger Zone, and he goes to these mad places.
Okay.
Like really, really dangerous places.
Oh, I did see one on YouTube where I think he was in a prison, wasn't he? Yeah. He was in a prison and he was experiencing that. Yeah. Just that alone is pretty crazy, right?
But which, as a mindset, you sort of think, well, if you've got 2 kids at home, what is possessing you to go and do these really dangerous things? Like, on a personal level, I feel really risk averse now that we've had Ted. I'd always said, like, if there's a skydive there, I'd do it. Yeah. But now I'm like, for what risk? For my own selfish thrill seeking. And, at the risk of, and it does just get you thinking completely different, because you think, life's for living. But I don't know if you feel that, mate, from being a dad, like your risk aversion has gone up quite a fair bit, because you want to be there for him.
Yeah, I'll be honest, mate, I don't take massive risk anyway. Like, I train, I run, and I do my high roxes, and I'm not putting myself out on, like, I'm not doing skydives or anything like that. Although I had a client recently do a skydive, and he sent me the video and stuff, and it's really cool. And I just thought, yeah, I'd love to do that. But then that thought did cross my mind, like, oh shit, what if something does go wrong? How does life look then? Yeah. And it was never a thought before.
Amy actually said this to me earlier on in the year. We went to Tattershall Lakes, and like, don't get me wrong, just got a couple of bits and bobs for, you know, experiences and adventure stuff if you want to do it. And now this zip wire, which, don't get me wrong, mate, if you fall from that height, you're going to know about it. And every sort of time I went round, this guy kept challenging me. Like, one of the instructors is like, oh, do you think you could do it backwards? Do you think you could do it upside down, Brad? And I'm like, yeah, I could probably do it upside down. So I went upside down, and there's a video of me high-fiving Ted, because I could reach him because I'm so tall. So I want you to jump and just high-five me. So I'm upside down. Mate, it's a sick video.
Is it?
It's so good. Yeah, it's so good. And I'm like, I'm hot. I'm hanging upside down. I've got my arms, and then I can just see my son, my teeny tiny son, because I'm he's so far down. I've raised my arms or lower my arms, whatever it is, and he high fives, and I just think that's a cool experience. And I got down. Amy said, "Bit of a risk that, Brad, going upside down at that height, weren't it?" I'm like, "Yeah, it probably were." It's like, did you think about that? I'm like, no. I'm like, should I have?
Yeah.
And it just gets you thinking about, like, for the sake of that cool experience, was that worth it? What if I would have slipped? What if you always think like that, you're never going to do anything?
No.
So it's a hard line.
Yeah, it is. It's little things like that you sometimes in the moment don't think about, actually. And you just act how you've always acted, like, oh yes, this looks pretty cool. You challenge him to go upside down, I reckon I could do it. And it's not until afterwards you think back and go, yeah, maybe that was a little bit close to the edge of that. But also, to a certain degree, you can't live your life that way.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Even though you are a parent, you're still a human being. You don't want to get to the end of your life and be on your deathbed and go, great, raised kids, but I never did anything I wanted to do. It's that unique balance of, you know, calculated risks while still, you know, having fun and being the best dad you can be.
It's that question, isn't it? Like, you're alive, but are you living? And it's quite a, you know.
There's certain things like skydivers I look at and go, yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe that boat's passed for skydives, but also, do I want to eventually tick that box? Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I'd have to do it without Amy knowing about it. It couldn't go on any social media. No one would ever know about it. I'd just know I'd done it.
No, I know what you mean. I think it's good to have this. There's a reason they call it a bucket list, isn't there? Like, things you want to do, you know, before.
Maybe you can do it later in life. I might do it when I'm like 80 on my deathbed.
Yeah. And again,
potential heart attack on the way down.
Yeah. And again, who knows? Like, I know we've covered this topic before about, you know, me talking about the experience of losing a parent. And I've had a couple of people since listen to it, message me. And one thing that really sort of sticks in their head that they always mention to me is, like, go and live a life for the two of you. And for this tragedy, for example, you could argue that, you know, the dad, is it Daniel, his name?
Daniel, yeah.
You look at Daniel, like, he's living a life for not just 3, but 4, if he's counting Samuel in that as well. Which is mad, isn't it? So he's now living a life because he has the opportunity to, for these 4 people who now no longer have a life, technically.
Yeah.
Which is...
I want to live in a way that's going to, like, respect them and do all the things that they wanted to do. Yeah, for sure. And Samuel and Daniel, they have a really good relationship now. Like, they write to each other most weeks. They get phone calls and they're allowed to phone each other. I think Daniel's almost started, like, mentoring Sam now, to a certain degree, to become like this kind of person who's a good functioning member of society. You know, not someone who wants to go out and get wasted every weekend. And Sam was dealing with his own shit. He had lost his family, like he lost his sister, and that affected him. He admits on the documentary more than he probably would have admitted. And you don't realise at the time. You just think you're out there drinking because it's the fun thing to do. But oh no, I was grieving in my own way there.
And you have to think, like, what sort of influence can Samuel have from a restoration standpoint or a rehabilitation standpoint for other prisoners in there? Like, if he... No, obviously I've never been to prison, but I imagine when that happens, people get known and be like, you know, Samuel's the guy, he's got a positive relationship with the dad of the 3 kids that he killed. That's abnormal. That's really abnormal. So for him to sort of teach that about, you know, maybe for Samuel to say, if I was in your position and somebody is going to get out, just don't waste it. And you see the stats of reoffenders in particular. It's mind bending because all they know is hate for them years or decades that they're in prison. All they've known is hate.
There's a pastor in the prison who goes there, and is that what they call them, pastors? In Christianity. So anyone who's of faith there, he'll take sermons and stuff like that. And he was interviewed in the documentary and says Sam's a bit of like a rare case in that he admits full responsibility, wants to change, is accepted by the family, and has been forgiven by the family. And it's really helped him move on, and now he's seeing it impact other prisoners. So Sam's obviously understands how lucky he is to be in his position where he's had forgiveness from the family, which helps him move on. And then he's just helping other prisoners now in there to, move on from their tragedies and things like that. And, I think he was 29 at the time, Samuel. So he wasn't young, but he was probably old enough to know better. I think it was 5 years on, so it'll be 34 now. So same age as me. It's nuts. And he's in prison and he's going through this crazy situation. Don't get me wrong, I've been no angel, mate. I've been drunk. I've taken a few things, but I've never really wanted to get behind the wheel. And that's the disconnect for me in this situation, where I'm like, okay, I've been in those situations. Maybe I've used those things as like a coping mechanism for certain things in my life, but I've never got behind the wheel because I thought it would be just too crazy. Like you understand how dangerous cars are anyway. Like even when you're not drunk, like you're more likely to die on the way to the airport than actually die in the plane. That's how dangerous cars are. The stats on them are nuts as well. So I don't know. It just it's hard to get my head around everyone's perspective here. And something I'll probably think about for quite a while, I think, even after having watched it this week.
It's really multi-layered, and this is where I'm having to struggle now, because I do feel like it's a bit of a victim mentality that you can slip into if you're like, well, this has also happened to me. But like when we were 18, a friend of mine, died in a car accident from drink driving. That is tough because he'd have been such a big part of his life, and he was 18. Like he's basically he's still a kid, and he's never going to have them experiences, and all for a decision to be made. And if you are a parent now and you want your child to grow up and be responsible and have these thoughts and opinions, I saw a quote which is, when you get older, your parents' voice becomes your inner voice, and that's quite deep to think that.
They're still there within you.
Yeah.
But quite nice as well. Think about like some Lion King vibes there, where I'm at a lake somewhere, and I just look up and see Mufasa.
Yeah.
I'd look up and see Paul Dutton.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. It just, I don't know, it gets you thinking. It's such an impossible situation, like we said. An impossible situation to navigate, and, if anyone has made it this far, and, but by grace, they have lost a kid, I can't even begin to imagine like what that is like. And I know one person in particular which springs to mind, who I know really well, who's lost a kid, and she's one of the most amazing people I know. She's got so much energy, and it's not an overcompensation by any stretch. That is just pure, living the life for two people.
Who she is, yeah,
it's amazing.
It seems to change people, doesn't it? That, yeah. Again, hopefully something we never have to go through. Touch wood. But it's a situation where you look in and go, wow, how strong are those people? And that's just probably the overriding aspects of everything with this, Oaklands tragedy case. Is like how strong everyone was, and how everyone's come out, how everyone's actually in this crazy, intense, like very horrific tragedy. Everyone's kind of come out better from it. Everyone, who didn't die has come out better from it. And they've raised each other up, and they've been like, let's get through this together. The victim, the criminal, if you want to call him that. Everyone's almost dug in and together and said, let's come out of this stronger.
I think it's looking at what you can control as well, because, again, I imagine the Abdullahs, they looked at the path forward and they thought, right, we're going to be in pain either way. So either be in pain and try and make a positive difference, not to relieve the pain, but to help other people, or we spiral into hate, revenge. Like there's two very clear paths there that, logically speaking, make sense. Emotionally speaking, maybe doesn't make sense.
Do you want to end it there?
Shall we?
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I think it's been a bit of a downbeat one today, but it was just a story that I thought, as a parent, really tugged on my heartstrings, and maybe a few other people will feel the same way. Like I said, we'll put the link to the YouTube video in the show notes, so check it out. But yeah, it was good, and I'll definitely send it to you, mate, as well.
Yeah, no, and thank you for bringing it to the table, mate. I mean, as far as discussing things that are worth discussing, that's what we do.
It's maybe topical as well, which what's been happening at the station and unfortunate events there. But like I said, there's a real story here about, like, there's other ways to manage things. There's positive outcomes that can be had. You just have to, have that support system and hear stories like this as well. I think for sure. I
think it's knowing what humans are capable of.
Yeah,
in every sense. That's quite mesmerising.
Good end, mate. Thank you for joining us on the Fit Dads podcast. See you in the next one.
See you soon. Cheers, mate.
My man.